I'm going to explain a little bit about why it's entitled that later in my presentation. But first, a little background on myself. So I started dance when I was 3 years old at a studio near my home. So I've been at that studio for 15 years now. And I have trained and competed and performed many different genres of dance at that studio, including tap, jazz, ballet, point, and modern. And I found my passion was primarily for ballet through that period of time. And then flash forward a couple years, and when I came to Millbrook as a freshman, I met Ms. Kowalski, and she introduced me to a new style of dance called contemporary. And I had heard about contemporary, but I had never really tried it on my body. And I was introduced to choreographers that inspire me, continue to inspire me, and many different paths of contemporary that you can go on. And so every summer, I like to do a summer intensive to further my training in dance and keep up my strength and flexibility when the school year ends and my classes die down in Millbrook and at my studio at home. So this is how I got into the Complexions Contemporary Ballet Company. I had asked Ms. Kowalski to give me a couple of suggestions on what intensives I should audition for or try out for, and that led me to Complexions. So I spent 2 weeks of last summer at the Complexions Contemporary Ballets program, and that is me with the green lead chart up there. These 2 weeks were some of the hardest weeks of dance that I had ever experienced, but also two of the most rewarding weeks that I have ever experienced. I got to learn from company members, former company members, and the two directors of the company, which is a great experience as a young dancer to have, and to hear their critiques and their insight into the dance world. Something unique about the program is that they not only gave the technical aspect of dance, but they gave the wisdom side to dance. So I was able to hear more about the dance world and how to take that path. So the schedule for these 2 weeks was pretty rigorous. I would get up in the morning and I would take the Metro North train into Grand Central. I would then take the subway to Westermann Manhattan College where the intensive was held. My morning started with either a Pilates class or a conditioning class. And then after that class, we had a 2-hour ballet technique class. And this class was taught by a former Complexions Contemporary member, also a former Dance Theater Harlem member, which is a significant company in New York. So after this ballet class, we would have a lunch break. And then after the lunch break was probably the most difficult part of the day that I took part in. So this afternoon session was basically we were in the studio for 4 hours with little to no breaks, and we were learning Complexions repertoire. And what that is that it is the company's own choreography. So there was no combinations or no movement made specifically for the young dancers in the program, but we were learning direct choreography from the directors that the company has performed internationally. So this was probably the first 2 days of these afternoon classes. I was extremely overwhelmed and extremely tired, but by the middle of the week, I was getting into my rhythm and really being able to handle the choreography. So I learned a lot from the choreography and from the teachers that we had. So a little bit more about the company is that the two directors are Dwight Roden and Desmond Richardson, and this is Desmond in this picture. And they are based, they just moved from New York to Atlanta, Georgia. They currently have about 13 members, and the afternoon portion of the intensive was taught by current members of the company. So that was really interesting to hear their perspectives, also their paths to getting where they were, which as a young dancer, and for all the young dancers in the room, I can speak for, it was very inspirational to hear their stories. Also, something unique about the program was that both Dwight and Desmond both observed, taught, and critiqued classes throughout the 2 weeks. So I got to hear from the directors of the company, so not only the professional dancers, but the directors who made decisions about the company and created the choreography. Complexions has their own technique that they use in their choreography. So this technique mixes the strict form of ballet and contemporary elements and styling. So they still use ballet turns, and ballet lines, but there's also parts of contemporary dance incorporated into it. So for example, they use a lot of turning in of the body. Also, they have a lot of upper body contractions or releases to separate sharp movement from slow movement, and to really get the breadth of the movement in. So this is the technique of the company is kind of what I really fell in love with, and I really wanted to expand upon for my CES project. And so it intertwined the two genres that I had grown to love and grown to look how my body reacted to, which were ballet and contemporary. So this led to my essential question, which was how can I successfully incorporate the Complexions Contemporary Ballet's technique into a choreographed group piece? So this is where I started my CES. So my choreography process was a very interesting process because I had choreographed for myself in the past and done solos of that choreography, but I had never choreographed a group piece with other members besides myself in the dance. So I chose to include 4 members in my dance. So there's 3 girls and then including myself is 4. That is an even number, and I had really wanted to work with an even number because I felt like it would make the choreography a little easier for me to have the kind of symmetry of 2 sides. So I chose these dancers because I have danced with them before under Ms. Kowalski's direction. They are from her studio, the dance studio, and it was a different experience for me because I had danced with them before and with their comrade in arms and dances and pieces that I had performed, but I had never led a group or directed or choreographed for a group of students. So that process was a little different and a little challenging for myself to get used to. I also found through my choreography process that for me as a beginner choreographer, it was easier for myself to give the dancers small pieces of small chunks of choreography at each rehearsal rather than larger chunks, which I knew they could handle because I had seen before in previous pieces. But this was really my process because I needed to compartmentalize the piece. So I didn't want to give them another combination without seeing the first combination and how it reacted to their bodies, and then I would change the second combination. So I kind of planned it out so I would give them small chunks at each rehearsal. So we had 4 rehearsals and 1 tech rehearsal, and the tech rehearsal was really for me and the dancers to find our footing in the theater. I planned out the lights at this time in the tech rehearsal. So also throughout my choreography process, I used my sketchbook, and these are 2 pages from my sketchbook that you see up here. So I used it to kind of plan out the movement of the dancers, because it is kind of hard to visualize how 4 people can move around the stage. So if you see on the first one, there's a bunch of numbers and 4 lines, and those are the dancers moving around the stage. And then on the second page is kind of how I would mark down my combinations, so I could keep track of the movement and what specific combinations or pieces of movement that I wanted to add to the piece. So my CES is entitled Complexions 2.0 because I took the technique of complexions and infused it with my choreographic style. So it's kind of the second version, so to say. So without further ado, here is Complexions 2.0.